All right, Algebra 1, here we go. 9-5, completing the square. Our essential question is, how is solving quadratic equations using square roots similar to solving them by completing the square? Okay. Well, what is completing the square? Well, there's times when you can't factor a trinomial, okay? And you're trying to solve for x. How are you going to do it? Okay, well, this is just another way. We've talked about greatest common factors and difference of two squares, factoring the trinomial, fabulous factoring. Here's just another way when you can't do the normal factoring with trinomials. And you do it by changing your trinomial that you can't factor into a perfect square trinomial. And what you do is you take the x squared plus bx part of it, okay, whatever that is, okay, and then you add to it the b over 2 squared, whatever that is, take half of it and square it, and that becomes your c term, okay? And then what that allows you to do is then you can rewrite it as x plus b over 2 quantity squared, what we call a binomial square. So you can take this trinomial and write it like this, and then you can solve the problem, okay? So a simple example would be here, finding that c term right there, okay? To be able to write this as a perfect trinomial square, the c is b over 2 squared. Well, for us, our b is negative 16. So you're going to take negative 16 over 2, which is negative 8, and you're going to square that and you get 64. So that would be the c term you would add right there. Okay? Now this is a perfect trinomial square, and I can write it as a binomial square. It's going to be x plus the b over 2, 16 over 2, it was minus, I'm sorry, so that would be a minus. Okay, if you took x minus 8 times x minus 8 and you foiled it, that's what you're going to get. Okay, so how does all this fit in with solving for x? Well, let's take a look. Okay, putting it all together to solve for x. Let's say you have this, x squared plus 6x equals 216. Now the way we've been doing it, I would tell you to subtract the 216 over and then try to factor what you have. Okay? Well, the thing is if you subtract the 216 over, there are no factors of 216 that are going to differ by 6. You wouldn't be able to do it that way. So what do you do? Okay? Well, maybe you could, but it's too big a number, you wouldn't know. So what we do then is, first we want to find that c term and we want to put it in here. Okay? So I put a plus blank on both sides. And remember, this is my c term right here. Okay? So what's going to go there? Well, we're going to take half of 6 and square it. So it's 3 squared, it's 9. Now, an equation is like a balancing scale, okay? Don't forget that. That equal sign, whatever's on this side equals this. So if I add 9 here, I've got to add 9 over there. Okay? So I found my c term. I added it to both sides. So this is what I got. Now I want to rewrite it into the x plus b over 2 quantity squared form. So I take this and rewrite it like this. So I got my x plus half of 6 is 3, so I get 3 quantity squared, and 216 plus 9 is 225. So going from here to here, now I can solve for x. I can square both sides, okay? And the square root of something that's being squared is just what it is, x plus 3 in this case. And the square root of 225 is positive or negative. That's what that means, plus or minus 15. Because it doesn't matter if you put a positive 15 or a negative 15. When you square it, you're going to get 225. And then I'm going to subtract my 3 over to solve for my x. So that's what I get. Well, if you've just got real numbers here, go ahead and simplify it. So x is going to be negative 3 plus 15, and x is going to be negative 3 minus 15. So that's what I did here. Negative 3 plus 15 is 12. And negative 3 minus 15 is negative 18. Those are my solutions. Okay? If you plug those in here, you get 216. Alright, so we didn't have to factor. We completed the square. Well, let's take a look at one more example. Okay? I'm going to take this 16 and kick it to the other side. I'm going to put my plus blanks in here. I'm going to take half of my 14 and square it. Negative 7 squared is 49. So I add it to both sides. So I found my c term, I added it to both sides. Now this is a perfect square trinomial. I can write it like this. So it's going to be x plus half of my b, which is -7, so I'm going to just write it as -7, squared. -16 plus 49 is what, 33? Okay. Now I'm going to square root both sides. You get what's inside, plus or minus the square root of 33. Add the 7 over. So x is equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 33. Okay? When you get something like this in the radical that doesn't simplify easy, you can leave the answer just like that, it's fine. Or you can make that, it's like 5.7 or something like that, and you could figure it out. 7 plus 5.7, 7 minus 5.7, those are your values. But that'll work right there if you can't take the square root of that evenly. Okay? That's completing the square. Make it a perfect trinomial, b over 2 squared, in for your c. Write as a perfect binomial square, and then square root and solve. Okay? We're going to be looking at this in class. We're not going to get real in depth into it, but just some basic stuff like this. A way to solve for x when you can't factor the trinomial. Okay? Completing the square. We'll take a look at that tomorrow. See you then. Bye.